Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Encyclopedia.zone. My name is Don Jolly. I am a writer living and working in New York City. My work has appeared in the Los Angeles Review of Books, Penthouse Magazine, among others, and this is my YouTube presence. So today we are coming at you with a staple of the YouTube channel, especially the constantly updating YouTube channel, which is what I aspire to be, namely the review. Now, people review all kinds of shit on YouTube. People review movies that came out 30 years ago. People review video games from the 1980s. People review fast food products that are only available for a limited time, or fast food products that have been in existence for so long that it's sort of ridiculous to give them a review. It's worth asking. I think, given the popularity of the review format, especially in the world of internet media, because even before video took off, it's like Something Awful back in the day. One of their major drivers of traffic was reviews of books or reviews of bad movies, video games. I believe it actually started as a repository for reviews of bad Quake 2 levels called Cranky Steve's Haunted Whorehouse, which was hosted on Planet Quake. Reviews are very, very popular on the internet, but they're not exactly reviews the way that I think most people think of them. When you imagine a review, at least when I imagine a review, I think of it being a piece of consumer advice. Like when Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert reviewed movies on TV, they were essentially giving you an answer to a very specific question, which is it worth my money and my time to watch this film? If I go see A Few Good Men, am I going to get my $6 worth? That's the question that they're trying to answer. And with the reviews on the internet and the reviews on YouTube specifically, like, they have absolutely no utility as advice on whether or not you should spend money on a particular product or piece of media. I mean, maybe the Review Bras stuff will let you know whether you want to buy a Long John Silver sandwich or not. But with guys like Doug Walker or Mike Stoklasa or Lindsay Ellis, like, they assume that you've already consumed the piece of media that you're watching the quote unquote review of, and then it becomes a piece of analysis, analyzing why this piece of media did or did not work. And so reviews these days, reviews on the internet have become something of a popular critical literary form that I find very interesting. And the reason that they've become this is that in a consumer society, what you consume and your opinion on what you consume is one of the primary ways by which you can establish an individuated identity. You're not just a consumer of Star Trek media, you're a consumer of Star Trek media who is able to rank what you have consumed. You can say that Wrath of Khan is better than Search for Spock, which is better than Star Trek V, which is all better than J.J. Abrams. And you can use the analysis that you have of your own consumption habits to announce yourself to the world and to create conversations with other consumers, because, of course, we are all consumers now. So, towards that end, I am going to be reviewing Lifesavers. We're reviewing Lifesavers today. And I'm sure you guys are all really excited about that. So, Lifesavers is a fucking candy. It's existed since longer than I have on the planet Earth. It was there when I was born. Barring some catastrophic upset, they will still be making Lifesavers when I die. It is a inner tube style shape, hard candy with fruit flavoring, and you put it in your mouth, and it dissolves slowly, filling your mouth with sugary fruit goodness until it gets down to the very dregs, and then you basically have to crunch it, and then you swallow it. So it's kind of it's a juicy experience, and you get a little bit of that. You get a little bit of the crunch. You get a little bit of crunch there. And there's different varieties of Lifesavers, gummy Lifesavers, et cetera, et cetera. I remember I read a piece by Kieran Gillen, who's a writer He did that comic series Phonogram. He's written some stuff for Marvel Comics. I haven't really kept up with him the last couple of years, but he used to be a video game critic, and he wrote this piece advocating for a quote unquote new games journalism, where he said, let's write uh, travel writing for worlds that don't exist. And he advocated for like this hyper autobiographical, like new journalism style video game reporting, which I guess is something you could do. I mean, like I said, reviews at this point are essentially a way for a person to announce their identity as a consumer in public with the hopes of attracting conversation and interest from other public consumers. Uh, but when you start describing like the detailed autobiographical reasons why you made a consumer decision, you're it's a very slippery slope there into just like complete navel gazing irrelevance. And so, follow along with me as I explain to you why I am reviewing Lifesavers. So, talking about consumer decisions, I've been smoking cigarettes since I was about 15 years old. And it's gotten really bad the last couple of years. Like, I've gotten really intense about it. I'm smoking butts off the ground. I'm living in a state of complete psychic disrepair. Um, and I guess, you start smoking cigarettes because you think it looks cool. You see it in the movies. And then you keep smoking cigarettes because you've become dependent on the ritual and the routine and the steady release of chemicals. Like, it's not just nicotine, it's also that you get like a rush of a rush of energy every time you smoke a cigarette. So if you're an anxious person, and especially if you're an anxious person who has money troubles, like, cigarettes are attainable uh, at a very low price point. Usually in my neighborhood here in the city, like, you could get a Lucy cigarette for about 50 cents. And they give you that jolt of energy that it feels like you've accomplished something. It gives you a little bit of satisfaction, a little bit of get up and go, and it keeps the doldrums of the worst depression at bay. So you become very dependent on these things. Also, when you're working shitty jobs, like I was working as a bar back earlier this year, and when you're working like a manual labor kind of job, it's recognized that you can take a cigarette break at any time. Everybody respects the cigarette break. Like, you have to go outside, you get a moment to pause, you get a moment to sit down. This old advertisement, the pause that refreshes, but little bit of truth to that. So the cigarette, like, it becomes this essential part of how you live your life. And the problem with that, of course, is that it gives you cancer, makes you unhealthy. It's gotten to the point where I'm so dependent on it that when I don't have cigarettes, I get a fucking nick fit. So I came up with a solution. I cut a bargain with the universe in the shape of Lifesavers. I got a pack of Lifesavers. Like, I got a bag of these individually wrapped Lifesavers from the dollar store. It cost me $1. And the reason I'm not putting a Lifesaver in my mouth right now is that I made a deal with myself that I can only have Lifesavers if I step outside. Like, I basically have to consume Lifesavers the way I consume cigarettes. It takes about as long to suck a Lifesaver as it does to smoke a cigarette. You get a little burst of sugary goodness, give you a little burst of energy. And in this way, I have been able to replicate the ritual and some of the chemical effects. And it's been great. I have not smoked a cigarette for about a week, and this is the most together I've felt during the process of quitting, and it's all thanks to fucking Lifesavers. Actually, it's not thanks to Lifesavers at all. It's like I've made this consumer decision uh, within a network of larger decisions. Like, much more significant than the Lifesaver itself is the decision to consume it in a consciously ritualized way that assesses my needs, takes them into account, and it allows me to use the purchase, in this case the hard candy, as an instrument of my will. and it does not make the purchase into an identifying mark which defines my status as a human being or a fan or any other thing. Um, I'm very interested in YouTube reviews, because I'm very interested in seeing basically like a popular critical literature emerge out of the class of like media saturated hyper consumers that represent my generation. I mean, I'm one of them. And this is what we entertain ourselves with. This is what our pulp is. It's like it's commentary. It's commentary on consumer decisions, and I would imagine that this is going to become a much richer and more multivariate genre as the years go on. I also think it's really interesting to see people move from criticism to actually making the variety of thing that they're criticizing. Guys like Ralph the Movie Maker, who started off doing YouTube film reviews, and now he's making his own short films. Good for him. Little late for me though, because I've been smoking for 15 years. So I probably have mouth cancer and throat cancer and lung cancer. I'm going to be paying for that fucking consumer decision in more than dollars for the rest of my fucking life. Lifesavers, 10 out of 10.